Welcome to the Sure Group Show, episode 18, and today I'm going to talk about offers. I got asked twice this week, once from a seller, once from a buyer, about the offer process and what specific things should we be paying attention to. And I thought it was kind of a unique perspective to get a seller's point of view and a buyer's point of view. So let's start with the buyer. When a buyer is getting ready to write an offer, and I think I covered this in like episode 2 or 3 in detail. So I'm going to skip the basics and jump right to what an agent would do to assist a buyer in their decision in writing an offer. First is get confirmation from the lender. Do your due diligence with the lender, meaning, hey, is this purchase price is it congruent with where you want to be with your monthly payment, with your cash out of pocket, based on the taxes, the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, your PITI payment? Does that make sense for you? If so, then you go right into the agent advisory role where you're really pulling apart some data to see if this offer that you're about to write makes sense in terms of being a good value and being a good investment for your buyer. So how do you do that? You start with the trends, which I covered in episode 17, and you give a price opinion or a range of where they should be, in terms of where they should be in terms of a purchase price. What makes sense? What's the fair market value? What would be below market value? What would be paying too much? And then, what I like to tell all the agents here at the Sure Sales Group is you get paid in direct proportion to the information you gather, not the information you give. So what a good agent's going to do is gather as much information as possible from the other agent. So you call the listing agent, hey, we're interested. We might be making an offer on your listing. How many showings have you had? Is the basement finished? Did you guys calculate price per square foot? If you did, could you share that with me just to double check your numbers? You can do due diligence now with the internet and find out when the seller bought the home, how much did they buy it for, what type of loan did they have, and it's not hard to back into. Here's where the seller's equity position probably is. Not that that's super relevant, but it might help you take a shot at a lower offer depending on some other factors. So analyze the seller's equity, find out, this one's key, find out what the seller's ideal time frame is. Because if the house is vacant and you can settle in 30 days, that seller would love a quick settlement because they're just bleeding paying their mortgage every month, plus BG&E, plus the water bill. So if the house is vacant, they want to settle quickly, versus a seller who's still living in the house, tons of furniture, and they might say, hey, if you could settle in 75 days, it would really help me out, versus settling quick in 30. That's something the buyer's agent should be gathering on behalf of their buyer in order to really get this offer as attractive as possible. Determine the urgency of the seller. And there's a whole art to creating, when you're gathering this information from the listing agent and doing your research, what is the tolerance of this seller in terms of time frame and price? And then, of course, how long has the house been on the market? What is it currently assessed at, which is going to have a direct impact on the lender's numbers? And what are you including and excluding in the offer in terms of the actual physical amenities in the house? What's included, what's excluded? So many times we get agents halfway through a transaction saying, oh, I didn't know that you guys wanted the washer and dryer. I'm taking that. That's a problem. And that's how agents end up writing checks for appliances. So, and it just to avoid the whole thing, make sure you go over the inclusions and exclusions for your buyer. So these are all some of the more granular things you need to be having thoughtful discussions about before making an offer. Because as soon as you write up this offer with the price, the closing costs, the time frames, contingencies, all of this good stuff, when you take that offer and you send it to the seller and the seller signs it, that offer just became a contract. Now we don't get to go back and play with this anymore. What's in the contract's what's in the contract. So that's very important. Now, if you're representing a seller, and we represent a lot of sellers, when a seller gets an offer, they look at the offer a little bit differently. The first 2 steps are always going to be the same, at least in my opinion. If I'm representing a seller and I get an offer, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to talk to this lender. Hey, I just got an offer. I see you're going to be doing the loan for John Doe. Is he qualified? Did you collect all of his documents? Do you have a full mortgage loan approval or commitment? It's really important to protect your seller, to make sure just because you have a pre-approval letter doesn't mean that that particular buyer has done all of the steps required to get fully approved for a loan. So step one, let's make sure this buyer's legit. Step two, there's a whole nother component of agent advisory when you're looking at it from the seller's perspective. So you have to look at where your listing is. I call it assess the listing life cycle. Where are we in the process? If the house is the first day on the market, our response to an offer might be a little bit differently than if we've been waiting for an offer for 45 days. So assess the life cycle. How long have we been on the market? How many showings have we had? How many brokers have given us their third-party opinion from a broker's open or from showings or from an open house? Of course, you assess everything that's in the offer in terms of contingencies, time frames. So the seller looks at an offer in a kind of a comparable way as the buyer should go about thinking of writing one in the first place, but they look at it from two different sides, because obviously the buyer wants to get the time frame they want in the lowest price possible, and the seller wants the time frame they want with the highest net possible. Now here's one key thing right here. What happens if you get multiple offers, or if you're going to counter the original offer? Every good listing agent has a specific process for a multiple offer scenario and a counter offer scenario. Now, I'm not going to go into that in too much depth because I don't know who's watching this, and I've got multiple offers on my hand right now, and we have multiple counter offers out. That process is where you earn your commission as a listing agent, and where we here at the Sure Sales Group are able to show our sellers some serious value. Unfortunately, we can't show you that value until we're already listed, negotiating a contract, and then dealing with multiple offers or countering an offer. But this is where we excel in netting our sellers the highest amount of money. And conversely, when we're receiving a counter offer for one of our buyers, if we're doing buyer agency representation, if we make an offer and the seller counters back, or we're submitting an offer and we know there's multiple offers on the table, there's a whole nother mindset and tactical skill set you need to have in order to execute at a high level. So quick conversation on offers with buyers and how buyers look at them and how sellers look at them. We look forward to helping you on your next offer, whether you're a buyer or a seller. Thanks. Oh, by the way, one thing I forgot to mention, perhaps the most important thing in representing buyers and sellers, is having your pulse on the market. Right now, for example, in many markets, if you're going to write an offer in the first week, you better be full price, maybe even over full price. If you're a seller and you're priced appropriately, a lot of times your first offer is going to be the best offer. So know the market, know the pulse of the market is very key. And the other big component is the relationships with other agents in the community. Here at the Sure Sales Group, whether it's myself or Joe Cicchetti or Matt Pecker or Ryan Wilkerson or Dave Jimenez or any of our great agents on our team, we have great relationships with other agents, which makes it a lot easier to gather information, to find out what is going to work to get the deal done for our clients, or at least give our clients the opportunity to win if they want. Until next time.